Welcome back to Amazing Chest. I'm on a quest to beat Elden Ring, playing as every single boss, and if that sounds like fun to you, then go ahead and subscribe because YouTube doesn't always recommend. The rules of this challenge are simple. I need to beat the game, but I can only play as bosses from the Underground. If I die, then I'll upgrade to the next boss, unlocking new attacks and getting stronger until I become the Lord of Blood himself, who did nothing wrong, by the way. The first boss on our list was the Silver Ball. Yes, the ball that chases you in the mines is technically a boss. And this thing only has one attack, but it was all we needed to steamroll Margit. And now that we've defeated him, the plan was simple. We need to beat the Fire Giant, take down Malekith, and defeat the Elden Beast. These bosses may have been banished underground, but by the end of this video, we're gonna try to take back the surface while playing as the outcasts who were shunned by the world. Enjoy. The Underground has a decent shot at completing this run because we've got a ton of variety at our disposal. We've got speedsters like the Shadow, tanks like the Rune Bear, and even heavy hitters like Astel and Moog, who are also remembrance bosses. If things go left, then we even have a secret weapon up our sleeves, and you'll get to see what that is in the Radahn fight. But most importantly, we've got Lich Dragon Fortisax waiting in the back with a massive 80% holy absorption, which makes him practically immune to anything the Elden Beast can throw at us. We need to make sure we save him for the end, because if we use him earlier, then there's a chance he could die. That should give us a real shot at completing the run, but the problem is that we've got a lot of weaker bosses to burn through first before we get to the strong ones, and if we lose too many too early on, then we might not have anyone left by the time we reach the Fire Giant. For now though, we need to make it through the castle and defeat Godrick. We're too big to fit through the side path, so we had to go through the front gate, and yeah. We needed something faster to slip past the front line, so the Alabaster Lord was up next. He gets flinched by everything, and he doesn't have those ranged meteors that his Onyx brother has. Against Godrick, we were going to have to play hit and run. We back hop to bait the first round of bolts from the crossbows, then use this cut content shoulder bash to basically teleport past them. This move covers like 12 feet in 1 second, and it's completely busted. We sprinted through the courtyard, and when we hit the bird section, we pulled out the Alabaster Lord's gravity magic. Gravity magic is the #1 counter to flying enemies, and it tore through the barricades and Warhawks pretty easily. Now that we were up against Godrick, we actually do have a couple of projectiles, so we opened up with those. The damage was low and the range was even worse, and all it did was trigger his jump attack, which caught us off guard and flattened us for 400 damage. We back hopped out and tried the projectile again, but they got stuck on tombstones, so we ate another jump attack. We went in to trade melee hits instead, and his whirlwind broke our stance, but we back hopped away and our 4-hit combo sent him into phase 2 right before he could swing again. From there, we ran right into the blind spot of his opening attack and staggered him on the spot. The 4-hit combo landed clean on his head, and that was the end of Godrick. Now the goal is to pick up the medallion halves and enter Altus so we can take on Radahn. If we're gonna survive Gauntlet, then we'll have to sneak past everything like an assassin, which is funny because there's this game I've been playing and they just added actual assassins to its roster. And I need to tell you about it because the collaboration they just dropped is kind of insane. Don't go anywhere because they're going to be giving away free legendaries, and I'll tell you exactly how to grab them. The game is Raid Shadow Legends, and they just launched a full collaboration with Assassin's Creed. Look at this cinematic. The quality on this is absurd. It looks and feels like a proper Assassin's Creed cutscene, and I genuinely wasn't expecting that from a mobile game. 5 iconic assassins from the franchise are joining Raid as legendary champions for a limited time. We're talking Ezio, Edward, Bayek, Basim, and Cassandra, created from their original game. Ezio has the iconic robes, Edward looks like he just stepped off the Jackdaw, Bayek has the full Medjay gear. They nailed all of it. Let me tell you about the Ezio chase event. Ezio is a master assassin who can stack debuffs on enemies to weaken them before piercing through their defenses with his hidden blade. All players can get legendary champion Ezio for free simply by logging into Raid for 7 days. Once you've recruited him, keep logging in for another 7 days and you'll get gear to help power him up fast. There are also dedicated events, tournaments, and summon boosts to unlock the other assassins. Edward, Kenway, Cassandra, Bayek, and Basim are all obtainable through those. And I want to call out Cassandra specifically because she is the first champion from Raid's brand new faction called the Argonauts, and more of them are coming in future updates. There's also an event dungeon with a new antagonist named Pontiff Augustine. He's a religious zealot who discovered a piece of Eden in Teleria and is using it for his own gain. You can take the fight to him in the event dungeon and earn time-limited chronophage gear along with gear from other valuable sets. And if you manage to unlock all 6 champions during the event, you'll earn an exclusive bonus reward as a special thank you. This is a limited time event, so make sure you don't miss out. I've been playing Assassin's Creed since the Ezio trilogy, so seeing him show up in Raid looking this good is actually really exciting. The crossover events are what keep pulling me back into this game because they always go harder than they need to. and honestly, I respect it. Plus, whenever I need a break from playing as bosses, Raid has enough PvE content to keep me busy for hours. If you haven't started playing yet, then what are you waiting for? Click my link in the description or scan my QR code on screen for bonuses that are only available through my link. Right now, new players can get 3 legendary champions and 1 free epic. First, you'll instantly unlock a huge starter pack with the legendary support champion Narma the Return. Then hit level 15 and you'll get an amazing epic from the undead hordes called the Mausoleum Mage. Finally, log in for 7 days to claim your legendary Ezio from Assassin's Creed, and on top of it all, new players can pick 1 out of 6 promo codes for a free legendary champion of their choice. You can only redeem 1, so choose wisely. These are your 6 options. I personally recommend picking the Monkey King because his design is super cool, but the choice is entirely yours. These champions are only available after downloading through my link or QR code, and you have 48 hours after downloading to claim them. If you go straight into the App Store or use any other link, then you won't get these packages, so make sure you download with the link first and then use your promo code in the game. Come find me in game under the name Moog Did Nothing Wrong and join my amazing clan, and thanks again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Caelid is a dangerous place, and we do not have the stats to be here. We accidentally pulled the Flame Chariot, and while running away from it, a giant pack of dogs and their big white leader joined the chase. Out of panic, we tried to use the shoulder charge to jump the gap between the Caelid cliffside and Dragon Barrow and fell straight to our death. It was time for the next boss. While he doesn't have a real boss health bar, this guy is one of the strongest enemies in Ainsel River, and he is mandatory for Ranni's questline. Radahn is a tank with passive poise and a huge health pool for this point in the game, and his great swords are going to make it really hard to fight him up close. Our wolf is fast though, and he's got access to one of the strongest effects in the game. We hung out with our alter ego and then talked to Jaren to start the festival. The Baleful Shadow is just barely fast enough to outrun Radahn's gravity arrows, and we used our back hop attack to dodge them as we got closer. We cleared the arrow rain and it was already time to fight. The first couple of hits flattened us, but they already did over 2,000 damage to Radahn. Our blade has a weakened version of Destined Death on it, probably from when Ranni stole a piece of the Rune of Death from Malekith during the Night of the Black Knives. We mistimed our attack right as Radahn buffed his swords and ended up paying the price, but we had one more trick up our sleeves, and it's the fact that we can heal. We chugged Estus right in Radahn's face and got back up to 80% before landing a full combo on his side, while he missed every single one of his attacks. Our Wolf's Assault clipped Radahn right as he jumped up for his meteor crash, and we dodged the landing easily thanks to our speed. At this point, Radahn was already on the brink of death, and one more charge attack put him down for good. We warped back to Altus, and with both great runes in our possession, the entry to the capital was open. The only thing we had to do now was beat the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and this was going to be tough. As our Radahn fight showed us, the Baleful Shadow staggers easily, and our defenses are not that great at all. The Estus Flask helps, but it doesn't really matter if we get 2-shot. That being said, Destined Death is still Destined Death, so what it really comes down to is who can kill who the fastest. Our speed made the Golem Archers a non-issue, and we actually killed the one closest to the Sentinel so that he wouldn't interfere in our fight. We howled to celebrate, and then immediately got hit with a Great Arrow from another Golem off screen. We ran at the Sentinel, and his opening attack missed, which gave us time to land 3 clean hits. Then we howled again, and got pancaked for it. We back hopped into a wall and then jumped in and staggered him. But instead of following up, we actually backed off the wall to avoid camera problems, and we missed our chance to attack him. He tried to stop our Estus Flask with a fireball, but luckily he missed, and then a single jumping slam broke our stance, and 2 more hits put us under half. We went for another attack, but the timing was bad and we charged right into his lightning field. Up next was Crucible Knight Siluria. This Crucible Knight is the captain of the Crucible Knights, and her great spear hits like a truck. We traded hits back and forth, and before long we were both in phase 2. Our flying slam cut off his lightning attack, and the follow-up broke his stance. A few more hits later, and the Sentinel was done. With the Sentinel down, the capital is finally open, and our next fight is against the leader of the Crucible Knights himself, or at least his clone. Goldfree is a problem because he does everything a Crucible Knight can do, but better. Luckily, our flying slam does have iframes though, so if he starts to overwhelm us, then we can just use that to get out of there. For once, we didn't take the rooftops and instead took the elevator down into the Capitol buildings. After all, this is our home, so we might as well act like it. We cleared out the Leyndell Knights in our way, and when they grouped up with Avatar, we just moved past them towards the Grace. We dodged arrows like Neo in the Matrix, and the Guardians on the route left us alone because they recognized us. We opened the Godfrey fight with Celeria's Woe, and he rushed right at us and staggered us in 2 hits. We immediately hit the panic button and dodged his stomp by charging behind him. The tracking on the charge is crazy, and we did a full 180 to land the next one. Eventually we broke his stance, and after one more flying combo, Godfrey was done. With Godfrey down, the last boss of the capital is now Morgott. Morgott should not be a particularly difficult fight. Yes, he's very mobile and his sword rain is scary, but his defenses and health are super low, so this should be easy. We opened with a projectile that caught him even though he tried to dodge it, and then we both missed. We took to the sky to try to stop his sword rain, and it actually worked, and we got the stance break. And when he finally went into phase 2, we flew away from the explosions. That's when things took a turn for the worse, and Morgott clipped us with the edge of his sword twice. A nearby wall ruined our lock-on, and our flying attack missed. Our health was dropping fast, and a puddle of all things on the ground stopped us from hitting him after the stance break we just got. From there, Morgott somehow clutched it out, and his bloody attack finished us off. It was time for the big guns. This Rune Bear is a hidden mini-boss in Deep Root Depths with 10,000 health and some insane damage. One hit brought Morgott to his knees, and a double-handed slam did 1,000 damage. We ran from the explosion and lunged back in to keep staggering him before he could do anything at all. When he did start fighting back, his attacks put a dent in our health bar, but a roar brought him down to 1 hit, and a quick charge finished him off. So far, this run has been a lot harder than I expected. We started as a Silver Ball who got shredded by crossbows in Stormvale, then the Alabaster Lord took over and beat Godrick but died in a random ravine. The Shadow came in and took down Radahn but couldn't get past the Tree Sentinel, and the Crucible Knight got to Godfrey but lost to Morgott. Now we're playing as one of the most terrifying enemies in the entire game, and the next boss on our list was not an easy one. The Fire Giant is the tankiest boss in the base game with 60,000 health across both phases, and with the size difference, we're basically a pissed off hamster nipping at his ankles. On top of that, our fur is not fireproof, and the Rune Bear is probably too big to dodge most of what the giant's gonna be throwing at us. The Rune Bear runs faster than Torrent though, and we crossed the mountaintops in record time. The only thing that could have caught us was Malekith, but that's not something we want to think about right now. We ran past Borealis, crashed through the garrison like a bulldozer, and made it to the Flame Peak. The Fire Giant opened with a huge snow wave, and it somehow clipped our toenails. Our jump slam did good damage, but his health pool was so big that it didn't really look like anything. We tried to dodge his attack, but we were too big to fit between his legs, and we got staggered for 1200. Honestly, I gave it my best shot, and we kept trying, but his attacks just kept catching us. We did break his stance though, and shortly after, his ankle splint went next. We broke his stance again and got some good damage on his exposed ankle. When phase 2 started, our lunge took us a little too far, and we accidentally got clipped by his firestorm. Rune Bear was officially dead. On paper, the Dragonkin soldier has a good shot at this. He can fly around and cast Ice Lightning, so he should be able to keep his distance. We didn't fly away fast enough to dodge the snow wave, but we dodged his attack right after. A lightning cast staggered him, but then he rolled into us 4,000 damage. He hit us again, and this fight was already looking bad. We cannot afford to lose another boss here, so we kept sniping him with lightning and even got a frostbite proc and another stance break. We kept bumping into trees though, and when he went for pyromancy, we had nowhere else left to go. That makes 2 bosses lost to the Fire Giant. The Valiant Gargoyles is our first gank fight of the run. Normally I would feel bad, but bosses do this to us all the time. I picked this duo because we were losing bosses fast and we needed to stop the bleeding. Both gargoyles have 2 different movesets and they can spew poison, which is something that only the Siofra gargoyles can do. While he was staggered, we both jumped on him, and after some accidental friendly fire, the Fire Giant rolled at us. Even with the distance our back hop covers, he still somehow clipped us, and we were already at 70%. Our brother was taking a beating, and when I tried to help him out, the Fire Giant just killed him. Now it was just us, and the plan was to stall until the poison did its thing. We switched over to the Halberd moveset and went for the Whirlwind attack. He staggered us back, but a second Whirlwind caught his roll, and a third one landed while he was on the ground. His Fireball pushed us back, and he caught us while we ran. making 3 bosses in total that we've lost to the fire giant. We needed something stronger, so we pulled out the 3rd strongest boss in the entire roster. If you saw the Mountaintops run, then you already know what this boss can do. The original Azula has lower stats than the Stars of Darkness version, but he's still very strong. We both rushed in at the same time, and our attacks were doing some good damage. A couple of bites later, and he was already at 80%. The fire giant rolled away in a panic, and we got stuck on his model while trying to chase him down. That gave him a bunch of free hits, and then he rolled on us again. A laser broke his ankle, and we were already at half, so we went for a meteor rain. After going for another, he hit phase 2 for the first time since the Rune Bear. We sniped his head during his meteors and threw out some meteors of our own. We jumped back in while he was staggered and went for some gravity magic and tanked his elbow drop, but our model was so big that we couldn't dodge either of his fireballs and both of them hit. After some more meteors, Azula finally took down the fire giant. At this point, it was pretty clear that underground bosses were not built for this challenge. We were only at Farum Azula, and we were already running out of bosses. To finish the game, we need to beat Malekith and defeat the Godskin duo, but we found out last time that Azula can actually fly, so we used this attack to skip the entire Dragon Temple and land right on the Great Bridge just before the Malekith fight. This boss needs no introduction, and you already know how scary he can be. Luckily, Malekith has a small health pool and only 80 poise, and for a gravity boss like Azula, that's going to be light work. We hit the clergyman with our tail and then started attacking in front of us to protect our head. When you're playing as Azula, this is the most important thing to keep in mind because he takes so much extra damage when they hit him there. His stance broke and we went for a gravity attack. We took some damage but got another stagger out of it. We rushed in but missed him, and he was fast enough to dodge us and hit us a bunch of times before we could finally force him into phase 2. Starting phase 2 at half health is not a good look, and to make things worse, we were facing the wrong way. By the time we turned around, he had already jumped and the resulting explosion had staggered us. Malekith hit us with a double spin while we were down for over 3,000 damage, and we threw out a desperation move, but he just walked right through it and finished us off. If you forgot the Regal Ancestor Spirit was in the Underground, then I'm not gonna blame you. The music is great and the atmosphere is cool, but the actual fight itself is not that memorable. We flew up to cast our magic waters, but the clergyman's rock still hit us in the air. Our damage was low, but our poise damage was pretty good, and we did end up getting a stance break. A quick combo of antler swings into an uppercut brought him down to 70%, and we need every bit of health we can get for phase 2 because the ancestor is really weak to holy. After some back and forth, we started rolling around like a ram. This move is crazy fast and works just like the Godskin Noble's roll, but with less damage. We staggered Malekith, but he still managed to get a hit on us. The roll is really hard to control, and Malekith slipped away and sniped us before we could catch him again. Eventually, the damage over time ended up killing us mid-roll. At this point, we only had 2 bosses left in the roster and 4 more fights to go. If we lose one more boss fight here, then the run is probably over. It was time to send in the Lord of Blood. Mohgwyn Palace is obviously part of the Underground, so it was Mohg's turn to shine. This is a much more even fight since Mohg is an in-game boss and his golden lineage actually rewards him with 40% holy resistance. We threw out some blood flames, then ran in with the slam, and 2 more hits forced the clergyman to back off. He dodged our fire explosion, so we walked right back up and did the exact same thing out of spite. It actually happened to work this time. We triggered our Nihil right away so we could start phase 2. Unfortunately, bosses aren't affected by the bleed, but the damage reduction and healing let us tank Malekith's attacks while we unlocked our flying moveset. We showered him with blood flame and then dove past him and landed a grounded stab that staggered him. A few more hits with the upgraded trident, and Malekith was finally dead. Gideon. It was time to fight our dad. This one is kind of emotional. If there's any My Hero fans in the chat, it kind of reminds me of Endeavor versus Dobby. You already know Mohg has to have a chip on his shoulder for getting banished to the Underground. Godfrey is the penultimate boss fight before we finish the run. His physical and poise damage is terrifying, but we're already in phase 2, so if we can stay in the air and dodge his earthquakes, then we might have a shot. First trade went in our favor, but Mohg got staggered fast. We took off flying and Godfrey dashed right to us and dodged our dive because of it. He staggered us before we could take off again, and his earthquake did 2,000 damage. We were already at 60% and he was still above 80. This was not looking good. We showered him with blood flame and got staggered again, then flew off and he stunned us the second we landed. please leave us alone. A Blood Flame proc forced him into his Regal Roar, which we dodged pretty easily, and landed a full combo that sent him into phase 2. Not gonna lie, we tried to face tank Horaloo since his defenses are lower, but even his bare hands do crazy poise damage. We couldn't get away. Moog was gone and we were down to our final boss, Lich Dragon Fortisax. With 16,000 health and basically 600 poise, because dragons only take 10% poise damage to their body and 20% to their head, this thing is tanky enough to go toe to toe with Godfrey. Our Fire Breath staggered him immediately, and we followed up with a Lightning Glaive. Godfrey is weak to lightning, so that's going to be our best bet here. We slammed into him from the sky and immediately took off for a flying fire breath. He couldn't touch us in the air, and our poise is so high that he can't stagger us when we land. When he went for his earthquake, we just charged away from it. Eventually though, his Regal Roar enhanced his earthquakes and they did catch us on the other side of the arena. A few more flying attacks though, and he was already in phase 2. We covered the ground in fire and Horaloo ran right into it. When he went for his earthquake, he was stuck in place, so the fire did its thing. One more slam, and Godfrey was done for. One more fight, just one more fight stands between the Undergrouind and their revenge story. Radahn and the Elden Beast. Win or lose, the run ends here. Lich Dragon Fortisax is actually a perfect counter to this fight. On top of everything we've discussed so far, this literal undead dragon has 80% holy absorption for some reason. That means everything Radahn throws at us pretty much tickles, and he is weak to our fire too. A flying fire breath did over 3,000 damage, and just like that, he was in phase 2. Radahn learned his lesson though, and parried the next fire breath like the Elden Lord he is. Then he teleported through our lightning glaive altogether. We went for another fire breath, and he did not dodge that one. Against the Elden Beast, his arena is so big that Fortisax could finally spread his wings and unleash his full power. The rest of this fight speaks for itself. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then like the video, and don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses for new players, including the 3 legendary champions. Thanks again to Raid for sponsoring this video.